Is a little bit more strict on credit and income, and FHA is less strict on credit and income. They both require reserves. If you're putting less than 20% down, you have what's called PMI, private mortgage insurance. Most people know about it, right? It's just insurance to the lender in case you default on the loan. And then FHA, even if you're putting more down, they're still gonna have mortgage insurance, which is just an extra monthly payment. FHA is great if you don't have the best credit score and you need a higher debt to income cap. That's what DTI stands for. Conventional is good if you have a better credit score and you have better income. However, and please hear me on this, if you take anything away, take this away. For FHA loans, when you're buying 3 to 4 unit properties, we have what's called a self-sufficiency test. Right now in Chicago, this is killing like 90% of deals, and it's infuriating. The reason why is because FHA has this rule where the building itself has to be self-sufficient, where the income has to cover the mortgage. What's really annoying is that they take 25% off the rental income, and the taxes in Chicago, are they high or low? High, yes. So because of that, most of the time, these loans do not work for 3 to 4 unit properties. So if you can get conventional, get conventional. What's funny is FHA still counts rental income from the building you're living in. So they give you all units, but it still fails. Like after mortgage insurance, tax, you know what I mean? Like it still just the math doesn't make sense. So lower down payment, better credit, all that stuff. They still require reserves. I recommend when you buy real estate, especially when you're investing, you should have reserves anyway, but the lender definitely needs you to have 6 months of reserves. By the way, quick note, this could be 401k, Roth IRA. This doesn't have to be like in a Chase bank account or Bank of America. Like this could be in stocks, right? Even crypto, I think they'll use as reserves. Anyway, all right. There's a cheat code. Who likes cheat codes? I like cheat codes, right? So there's a cheat code to increasing your purchasing power without doing anything, all right? How you do this is when you buy a multifamily property, we use what's called future rental income. I call it that, nobody else calls it that, but I call it that because we're not talking to people that are in mortgage and licensed, right? So to make it consumer friendly or like to the world, I call it this because all it is we're saying, hey, appraiser's gonna go out there if the units are vacant, right? How they do it, if the units have tenants in them, the appraiser's gonna assess what the market value is, and then the lender, the underwriters, are gonna take the lower between the two and use that for your income. So if you buy a building and the other units are $1,000 or $1,500 a piece, but the appraiser says, you know what, they're charging $1,500, but really I think it's worth $1,250, I think they're overcharging, then the lenders go off the $1,250 number. Either way, you will increase your purchasing power because they add 75% of that total income from the other units towards your application. I had a guy wanted to buy a $500,000 condo. I said, you're single, you're young, don't do it, buy a 4-unit, live in one. And he was like, great, I'll do it, I'll take that offer. He got approved for like up to $650 now because of the rental income. Same guy, same income, nothing changed. But because of the rental income, it increased his purchasing power because we're able to use that. So keep that in mind. Now, as far as grants, I don't talk about it that much because for multifamily property, there's not a lot out there. Grants are designed for non-investors, or for like families that want to buy a house, right? In this case though, I will say there is a 2-unit program that I have that covers the down payment, right? For FHA. And then there's a program called Better Basement Units. They'll give you a guide on how to legalize your ADU or like your basement. And if you qualify, they'll fund the construction project. So look into that. If you fit the box that they're looking for, they'll help you and they'll give you money for that. But that's really honestly the only main programs that are like really active. One thing to know, I'm a mortgage broker. So we have like hundreds of lenders that we like use for the financing. And so we have a lot of creative programs from A to Z. And so I can at least find something that makes sense. And right now in Chicago, like this is what's available. This is single-handedly the best loan program ever invented, hands down. This is a loan that cares about the property itself, not really with you. It's kind of like in the commercial territory. You could buy, so this is just something to think about when you guys reach phase 2, phase 3. When you start buying properties and you get to your 2nd and 3rd and 4th, you're gonna run into an issue where your debt is too high, right? You have too many mortgage payments and the lender's gonna look at your tax returns, your W-2s and say, okay, you guys don't qualify. So the workaround is that you can buy up to 4-unit properties, 20% down, they don't look at income at all. No personal income, no personal debt. If you have 20% down, this is where you have an infinite money game, where you can just keep buying properties as long as you have the 20% down. How they qualify it is the rental income has to cover the mortgage. That's it. That's all they look at. And it's gross. It's 100%, right? So it's really cool. And even if it's vacant, you can buy a vacant property and the appraiser will just take and assess the market rent and you use that for income. So you don't need a lease, you don't need a tenant, okay? You need 6 months reserves, you do 30-year fixed for those, and the rates are in the sixes. Incredible. I'm telling you, this program is super easy and it's super investor friendly. So I have a YouTube channel where I made some of these videos and I dove in deeper on DSCR programs, multifamily programs. You can check out my YouTube channel later and just watch more in depth on like these programs that I was covering.
I have a quick question for you. So
Yes.
going back to the LLC question.
Oh yes, I love this one.
If you're gonna buy this property to live in it, can you buy it in an LLC?
No. If you're buying an owner-occupied property, you cannot buy it as an entity. You have to buy in your personal name. If you use a DSCR loan, which stands for debt service coverage ratio, you can buy in an LLC. They allow that. But if you transfer ownership, things get complicated. But anyway, just know if you're buying it to live, no.
If you buy personally, can you transfer to your LLC like later down the line?
You can. Yeah, most guys do that. Like they'll buy owner-occupied and then just transfer the vesting to the LLC. Just know when you want to refinance, that changes. Like if you want to do an owner-occupied refinance loan, you can't. Like a regular, let's just say rates drop and you want to refinance, but you moved in LLC, you can't now. You have to do a DSCR loan. So keep that in mind. You want to be careful. Like if you buy in a higher rate environment versus lower, if you know you're going to refinance or take cash out, like be careful with the vesting because lenders don't like entities if you live in it. If you live in it. If you don't, it doesn't matter.
So it's really
Yeah.
about, are you buying it as a business or as an owner?
Yeah.
As an owner, you can put less down and you have a little bit more lax requirements than if you're
Yeah.
buying it as an investor.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is that a 2 to 4 unit property, or 1 to 4 unit property can be bought with the equivalent of a home loan,
Yeah.
even if you're an investor.
Yeah. And if I can say, well, like one more thing since we're talking about it, we just closed in Logan Square 1.4 million. Okay, guy bought a 4 unit and he put 5% down. If you guys pull out your calculators, do 5% of 1.4 million. What is that? 70K, right? Just at the top, 70K. What's 20% of that? 280. Am I right? 280. Do you understand? Like when we talk about leverage, that's huge. So I tell anybody, in my opinion, before you buy a house or before you get too much into like buying properties, buy the multifamily first, 5% down if you can, before you start getting all these like rentals. Because then that way it's the best, highest leverage thing you can do. I'd rather have multiple doors under one roof than have 4 separate single families that I have to drive to and maintain. Whereas I can have 3 doors under one roof that all charge the same as a single family home. And guess what? If one tenant leaves in my single family home, what's my vacancy? 100%. But if one tenant leaves in my 4 unit, I still have rental income from the other ones, right? So yeah.
The DSCR
Yeah.
loan requires you to live in one.
No, it doesn't.
So it's an investor loan.
Yeah.
Okay, so the investor, I thought investor loans require 25% down. Is this an
It's
exception to that change?
an investor buying an investment property like a storefront or a strip mall or a 6-unit building, that requires 25% down. This is considered a home, and you can buy that as less than even as an investor.
It's a commercial loan, but for residential properties. Commercial typically requires 25% plus, but for DSCR, it's 20% up to 4 units, for sure.
Similar to him, just trying to figure out, as an investor, what are the different vehicles? Meaning, does the financing change in terms of down payment, LLCs and whatnot? But let's say, as an investor, do I go with a DSCR loan, FSA, FHA, conventional?
Yeah, it does. It really, what separates the two is, are you living in it or are you not? That's it, right? So if you're not, if it's for investment purposes only, like standard rule across the board is 20% down. I do have a 15% down DSCR loan. I don't talk about it too much because it's kind of a false 15% down because the rates are higher and the fees are higher. So it's really 20, but not really. The sellers cover, anyway, 20% down is across the board for investors for 1 to 4.
Are there any other requirements besides just the down payment, 20%?
You gotta have the money, 20% down. You gotta have 6 months reserves, right? Sometimes, depends. DSCR is kind of like the Wild West. Like I got many different programs. Some want 6 months, some want 8, some want 10. If you own 2 other properties, they'll add a couple months per property you own. It's a whole thing. Generally speaking, 6 months reserves. Good credit scores, 6 months reserves, 20% down, that's it. And you can't be behind on mortgages. But the loan process, like you literally, when you fill out an application, your income and employment is blank. Like we don't put anything. That's it. We just got to see bank statement, credit score, insurance, title, you don't have to worry about, that's it. Like it's a pretty simple, like easy to do loan.
DSCR is their service ratio, right?
Yeah.
So how much is the percentage, like, you guys see? Like, how much the rent should be for the debt?
1-to-1. So if the mortgage, if the mortgage on a four unit is, let's say, $6,000 a month, your rent has to be $6,000. Like the rental income gross, 100%.
They don't take any expenses or anything?
They don't care about utility, nope. So it's gotta be 1-to-1. If it's a little bit under, this is where it gets fun. We'll look at 40-year options. We'll do a 40-year loan. We'll do interest-only loan. I got a program where you could divide your assets up, like if you have 300K sitting in a bank, we'll divide that up and use that for income, for DSCR. And like that's it. So if it's a little under, we got things we could do to make it work, but it has to be 1-to-1. Make sense? Like it's just gotta cover, yeah.
So for each deal, it has to be 6 months reserve, so my reserve amount is 100,000. And I'm looking at multiple deals. The next deal, do I get another 100,000 or that same 100,000?
Same 100. You just gotta show you have it somewhere that's not under your mattress. Make sense? Like that don't exist.
Photograph.
Yeah, not a photograph of your sword or your cash in a vault, but yeah. And do you guys know when I say 6 months, you know what I mean by that? Like of the mortgage payment, just saying, 6 months of the mortgage.
Can you use other properties to secure that?
To count as reserves? No, you cannot. You can take cash out, DSCR. So that's the thing too, DSCR is also for refinancing. So you guys got a fix and flip, you flip a property, right? And you can't qualify using income tax returns, you can take cash out of a property with no personal income verification, right? So this is where it gets crazy. And they're trying to get approved in Illinois, but we have a no appraisal DSCR loan coming out. It's kind of crazy. Anyway.
So, all right, well,
That's
let me get into this.
Thank you guys.
I spent